I always go back to data, not drama, right? Wherever you guys are at that you're listening in your business, right? Whether you're fully, optimized and develop, or whether you're just looking to make your first hire, second hire, third hire, you always want to operate from a standpoint of data, not drama. A lot of the times we can get very emotional, right? We can be in the storm and our head could be spinning, right? Operating like a chicken with their head cut off. But we want to rely on the data and what it shows.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Real Estate Pros podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Kesil. Today, I'm joined by someone I'm looking forward to chatting with, Devaniel Adams, who is running a wholesale business with his team in Central California. So excited to have you here today, Devaniel.
Absolutely. No, I'm honored and I'm humbled for the opportunity to, come on here and share and talk to you.
Absolutely. I think our listeners are going to take something away from how you're approaching your systems, operations, and creating your wholesale business. So we can dive in.
Let's do it.
Yes. So just first off, for those who are not familiar with you and your work yet, can you share what your main focus is?
Absolutely. Yes. So, as you mentioned, Michelle, we operate in Central California. We try to master one trade at a time, right? Rather than being a jack of all trades. So we primarily focus, I would say, about 85% of our operations on wholesaling. And every now and then, based on, exit strategy, we might, flip a few, take a few down as rentals, things like that. But yeah, we're a small, lean and mean team. As I like to say, a team of 5. We focus heavily just on intentionality, an emphasis on our sales process, being intentional with every seller. I think is what attributes to us getting deals at a deep discount on the wholesale side. And yeah, we're just all serving a bigger purpose and real estate, and our business happens to be that vehicle that gets us there.
Amazing. And is your wholesaling also only in Central California?
It is. Yes. So we like to stay in our backyard. Let's just say that. And we're focusing on going deep rather than going wide.
Yeah, absolutely. How did you get started in your career?
Good question. I love this question. So, how I got started. So I actually come from a background of no real estate investors, not even homeowners, things like that. I grew up myself personally in humble beginnings, living on Section 8 in South Central Los Angeles. And if you know, right? But I never had that role model to look up to in terms of like real estate and, entrepreneurship and things like that. Right. So I've always had this entrepreneurial bug in me, but I never knew what business I wanted to dive into. I knew that I was like blessed by God with certain skill sets and abilities. Right. But I couldn't navigate to know, what that vehicle was for me to serve my purpose. So I had a few mentors. I was in corporate America. I had a few mentors that always mentioned real estate, right? And I'm like, dude, I have no money to buy a house. Before getting into real estate, I barely learned that you can buy a house with a loan, right? I thought everyone was buying it cash. So that just shows how little experience I had coming in.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
And I had a few mentors that would put in, that bug of real estate, right? And eventually, I did some research, looked at some social media accounts, things like that. And I reached out to a local company here that was very ethical. And that was my biggest thing. I didn't just want to be a part of something that was thriving from a financial standpoint, but I wanted to be a part of something that also was very intentional and very purposeful, right? Because I think when you put those things first, the money will follow. So ended up joining a team, right? And then within that team and getting my license as an agent, that helped me to kind of understand the investment side, understand real estate as a whole, build capital to then later invest. And I would say probably a year later from getting my license, I fully went into the investment side, and that kind of birthed our company.
Amazing. That's so inspiring. How did you decide on wholesaling? Like, why did you choose that as your avenue?
Can you say that again?
Yeah. So, why did you decide that wholesaling was the investment avenue for you?
Yeah. So you know what? Interestingly enough, I actually always wanted to be, well, not always, but once I got into real estate, I wanted to be a flipper. I wanted to have an operation. I wanted to have a team of 30, 40 employees, right? And I wanted to be a flip heavy operation. But once I got deeper into the business, I was actually able to understand how capital intensive flipping is, right? I was able to understand the cash conversion cycle. You may, s- be $200,000 poor on January, but then come April, you're $400,000 richer, right? So just the inconsistency and instability of the conversion cycle on the money there, I wasn't too fond of it, right? And then I stumbled across wholesaling where, your cash conversion cycle, as opposed to 4 to 6 months flipping, it may be 1 to 3 months depending on your marketing strategy. I found that it's easier to scale, right? Because it's not as capital intensive, time intensive. And I also found that my skill set, along with, a lot of our team members now, was, the intentionality, right? And living kind of in purpose and the ability to connect with sellers on a deeper level, thus yielding higher profit margins for us. So when I seen wholesaling, I was like, it's just a no brainer, right?
Yeah, amazing. And how how did you learn to go about it as a wholesaler? You mentioned you had some mentors but yeah, how has the experience been for you?
Yeah, it's been good. And I speak to a lot of people that are agents who are looking to get into investing. They always have a similar question, right? Like, how do you take off that agent hat and transition to being a investor, right? Or, how do you just go from someone who lives or works a 9 to 5 and wants to be an investor, right? But I think it's all about finding opportunities, right? And finding problems and providing a solution to it. And for me as an agent, how I went and transition into wholesaling, I found it easy because as an agent, our fiduciary duty is typically, what will benefit this seller the most, right? Is it listing it? Is it doing this? Is it doing that? So I found that approaching the sellers the same exact way that I did on the agent side, approaching them the same way on the investment side was typically good, right? And we know the indicators for a good investment off market property, right? High distress, typically tight timelines, right? They need speed, they need convenience, and they're willing to trade some equity for it. So I went into those appointments the same exact way, just like, hey, here's your options. I'm going to let you know what option I think is best for you, but you let me know. And my job is not to convince you, what you should do, but my job is to provide you all of the options. That way you can make the most decisive and informative decisions. So I found that the transition was a bit easier coming from being an agent.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Absolutely, and that makes sense. And what are some keys that you feel have made the biggest difference in allowing your business to be able to grow and to run smoothly?
Honestly, it's a lot of intangibles, and a lot of like practicality. So I feel like just who I am as a person, definitely attributes to it because every business, every relationship, every partnership in general will have its challenges, and the ability to overcome those, I think, is what separates the winners and the losers, right? So for me, I believe that your business is only a reflection of you and your character. Your business can't grow further than the character that you have as a person. So I'm always constantly, doing character development. And for me, that kind of goes back to just my spirituality and like submitting to, someone higher, and God, and constantly just looking at my weaknesses. And I think that's attributed to not just the culture we have now, because now all of our team members embody the same thing. They're constantly like, hey, let me do what I'm good at and excel at, but let me also be aware of my weaknesses so I can, make the adjustment, get the feedback, and then adapt accordingly. So that's attributed to like a lot of our success, and why things are kind of going smoothly for us.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. What are you most focused on solving or scaling to next in your business?
You know, different seasons kind of produces different focuses, right? And areas of emphasis. Again, we want to master one thing. I believe that singularity focus will go way further than, focusing on 10 things at once. So coming out of, this 2025 market, right? We can all agree that like nationwide, speaking to a lot of my buddies that, operate in different markets on the East Coast and things like that. But it was a challenging market, and this market showed a lot of people's weaknesses, including ours, and areas that we need to capitalize, or else we will drown. We'll be out of business. And there's a lot of people, unfortunately, that did drown during this year. So, for us, what we're looking to focus on is really just staying true to our systems, staying true to the foundations, and being more liquid. So we, being a newer and a younger company, we're hungry. We've had a lot of exponential success in terms of like, revenue and kind of just growth wise in the last, three years or so. We were operating more risk friendly, right? We were taking risk, and this market humbled us really quick. So we ran into issues with liquidity, which obviously spills over into, marketing. It spills over into like your positive cash flow month to month, right? With your overhead and your expenses versus, the revenue coming in on top of like we were seeing multiple offer situations in this market. We were seeing, because it's multiple offer situations, they're driving up the price, right? Inventory is still kind of stale. Now we're, instead of profiting 31K per deal on a wholesale, we're, now facing, 15 to 17K. So if we would have stayed true to our systems, if we would have incorporated more disciplined systems in terms of just like kind of trimming the fat in certain areas, I think that would have been probably the difference maker for us. So going into 2026 for us, our main goal is to stay focused on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And what does that look like for you? Like, how are those systems and operations going to be structured?
Yeah, yeah, good question. So, again, I always go back to data, not drama, right? Wherever you guys are at that you're listening, in your business, right? Whether you're fully, optimized and develop, or whether you're just looking to make your first hire, second hire, third hire, you always want to operate from a standpoint of data, not drama. A lot of the times we can get very emotional, right? We can be in the storm and our head can be spinning, right? Operating like a chicken, with their head cut off. But we want to rely on the data and what it shows and the areas that are weak and et cetera and whatnot, right?
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
So coming in, as I mentioned, we want to first, just maintain our positive cash flow. So what that may look like is like auditing our expenses, right? What's working, what's not, prioritizing liquidity. So, if we could kind of come in and, you know, not put chunks of cash down, on some of our properties, and instead we gap fund that instead, just to keep ourselves more liquid, we would do that. As I mentioned already, right, we want to be more, or less adverse, excuse me. And then one of the biggest things for us was renegotiating our vendor contracts. So our data companies, our mail companies, our staffing companies, all those things. If our business isn't performing, and the rate that which it typically is, then that means our vendors aren't getting paid, right, in the rate that they typically are. So like, instead of just a non-important partnership, like, let's work together, how can we get things cheaper so we can save more money as a business, stay more liquid, but then also, make it more advantageous for us, therefore we can produce more revenue, for you guys, and keep using your service. So renegotiating vendor contracts, that may be from 1 year to 6 months, that may be trying to get a cheaper cost per mail or per lead. And then secondly is concentrating on our sales department. So a lot of the times, us operators, we're typically the best salesmen in our company, right? And if we're growing, we're scaling, we're getting out of that seat, whether it's full time or part time and whatever it is. And during a time like the market we've seen, or any markets in general that are tough, you definitely, as an operator, you want to, lead. You want to be the head of the snake, right? Not the tail. And you want to lead from, a situation or a position of, leadership, right? So getting back into that seat, hopping back on the lines, going on appointments, taking your acquisitions, people on appointments, things like that. And then also incentivizing, right, our team. So we're incentivizing our team, whether it's, our dispo guy, our lead manager, or our other AQ guy, we're incentivizing them. And we're also creating healthy competition. So, pretty much, closed mouths don't get fed, right? So if you're out there, you're making the extra step, you're rechecking numbers, you're recalling up the seller, you're prioritizing those 15 to 20-minute conversations, right? There's a higher percentage chance that you get that deal and you get paid versus, someone else or me, right? I don't want to come in and take your money and your opportunities. So, we're just creating that. And then really lastly is third, maintaining the culture. So I think that's one of the biggest things, and that is one of our strengths. In a time like that, it's easy to internally just kind of feel beat up, and feel a heavy weight on you, especially as a leader or any of your team members that are in, leadership positions. So what that may tactically look like is like daily huddles, right? If you're not doing daily huddles, whether you're, a 2-person team or a 15-person team, right? Doing 2 mil plus a year, you have to make sure you're doing daily huddles, right? Those are basically temperature checks, right? I want to know how every team member feels. I want to know, what are our specific goals for this week, where areas we can capitalize, things like that. And then biweekly one-on-ones, right? We'll dive deeper into that as well. Re-emphasizing goals. What is our goals for this week? And then lastly, just knowing like you are the leader. So you're a reflection of your team, and anything that you're enduring, they're also enduring too. So you have to just make sure that you're in a good place as well.
Definitely. I think that's really powerful advice.
Absolutely.
What is an obstacle that you may have recently overcome that now, looking back in hindsight, you have the lesson and wish you knew?
Um, Liquidity. It's pretty much that. I mentioned this year has been tough for a lot of operators, specifically our business as well. We're still doing well, but just not as projected. Our biggest problem was liquidity. We were more risk prone or risk friendly this year. So if I could go back, I would definitely be less risk adverse, right? I think because inventory was a little stale and home prices, statistically speaking, were sitting a little bit longer on the market. Flippers, right, which, we work hand in hand with, right? People who are flip heavy operations or just investors, their business will always kind of reflect ours, right? Because we're selling to them, we're the salesman to them. So since their inventory was sitting a little bit longer, they were a bit more conservative on deals and things like that. And at the same time, this is a market where you have to be aggressive, right? Because, because of all the political and economical things going on right now, sellers are a little bit unsure. It's taken a lot longer to convert them, into a contract. It's taken a lot longer for them to make a decision, is what we've been seeing in our sales process as well, too. So we're also competing with other people. We were being hyper aggressive to get that contract and maybe make 5, 10K, right? And try to increase our quality or our quantity over our quality, versus at the same time, those end buyers and those flippers are conservative on their numbers. So that's already a recipe for disaster, right? We're trying to bridge the gap. And because of that, we started taking on a lot more flips than we usually do. So we went against our business kind of I would say main business practice, which is, being 85% wholesale. Started taking properties down ourselves. So of course that came with, hard money lender fees, private money lender fees, gap money, fees, etc. Time sitting on the market, our down payments on, the hard money loans, which kind of decreased our liquidity, which made full on marketing every single month tough, right? We had to prioritize spend here, not spend here. It helped a little bit because, as I mentioned, we went back and we renegotiated some of our vendor contracts. So we was able to kind of come up with more liquidity within our business without taking on any loans or anything like that or credit. But that would be the main thing, focusing on liquidity in a market like this.
Yeah, definitely. That's important. So before we close up here, if someone wants to reach out, connect, learn more, where is the best place for people to find you and connect with you?
Absolutely. Every platform, TikTok, Instagram are the main two for me, but everywhere, YouTube, etc. You can find me at execute_Adams. I'm constantly trying to just add value to others. I feel like that's part of my God-given purpose, is not just real estate or building operation, but kind of, pushing others to reach their potential, as, those people did to me initially in my journey. So you can reach out to me on Instagram and TikTok, send me a message. I love to, add value.
Perfect. I appreciate your time, your story, your perspective. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. And again, thank you for the opportunity and the platform to just talk to you and share.
Of course. And for the listeners that are tuning in, if you got value, make sure you've subscribed. We've got more conversations coming with operators who are building real businesses, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.